Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, friends, partners all around the world. We are coming to you live from Keap headquarters here in sunny, just kidding, it's raining. It's going to be rainy, cloudy all week here in Chandler, Arizona. And very excited to be here with you guys on the Business Booster this week. As always, this week we've got an awesome one for you. Paul Sokol, if you're not familiar with Paul and the work and the epic things that he has done, well, you need to get familiar. But he's going to share with us something that he is an absolute master in today: strategies for event promotion, in-person event promotion on Facebook. So he's going to bring us some great stuff. He's got 4 strategies to share today, and yeah, strap yourselves in, hang on to your hats, because it's going to be awesome. So with no further ado, let's jump right into it. Paul, welcome. Thanks so much for being here on the Business Booster, man.
Thanks for having me. I always love to share some wisdom with fellow partners, especially since I believe we're doing a lot more in-person events these days anyway. So yeah, it's super helpful. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get to it, have some fun here.
Great. And guys, if you have any questions as we're going along here, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll be sure and make sure we get those over to Paul and get you some answers and all that good stuff. So there you go. Take it away, my friend.
All right. So you can see everything. We're good.
Yep. Looks good.
Okay.
Man.
All right. So hello, welcome to anybody that's here live or is watching this recording. Today I'm going to go ahead and share with you 4 strategies to master in-person event promotion on Facebook here, because there's a lot of bells and whistles and things that you can do, and that will help make sure your advertising is more effective for these. So we're going to go ahead and just hop right into it. So at BPro, we believe that successful in-person events inspire genuine human connection, and I think we could all agree the world needs a lot more human connection these days. And so these strategies should help you make more connections at these events, because more people are going to go ahead and show up. So the first strategy, and this may seem like an obvious one, but the first strategy is to make a formal Facebook event listing here. So the Facebook event itself has a bunch of extra functionality that comes from this special context within the Facebook platform. You can assign hosts, so that way you can have other people in your team monitor the event. You can have, the main thing with an event is people can indicate that they're either not interested, they're interested, or they're going. And you can do some really cool things with advertising with that, which we'll get to later on. The event itself has its own discussion wall. So just like there's the news feed, the event itself has its own little feed. And what's cool is that this can be moderated as well, and this allows you to focus the conversation here. And there is especially now that Facebook has a direct integration with Eventbrite, there's a built-in ticket and RSVP link feature there. So even if you're doing a event that's free, you still want to give people somewhere to RSVP. You still want to be building your list, and then this allows you, of course, to follow up with people, make sure they show up, and then you even get analytics into your event through the event insights that Facebook gives you. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to have a formal event on the platform as well. And something that is brand new to LinkedIn is LinkedIn now has events. So a lot of strategies that we're going to be talking about today, you can also do them on LinkedIn. The main difference is, at least for right now with LinkedIn, you can't run any event response ads, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and break down the anatomy of a Facebook event here. So a lot of the examples you're going to see in the presentation today are for entertainment-based events. The strategies are still applicable for a functional event. And I know that a lot of the partners here are doing more functional events as opposed to entertainment-based. So just keep that in mind, that this is relevant to you, and you should still pay very close attention here. So you're looking at an event that is happening tonight at Club Red. If you've ever been to the Phoenix area, Club Red is one of the best venues out there, in my opinion. And I am one of their social media vendors, and so I've got a lot of experience with that. So The Facebook event, of course, you're going to have a cover photo or a video, and this is the visual that pulls people in, gets them excited. Then you have the event date and the title. You can list the different hosts there and see who's doing what. So if you're doing, well, I'll talk about that later when we're talking about the about. There's all the RSVP and share options, so you can invite people, you can say you're going, not interested, whatever. There's the meta information for this specifically because it's an in-person thing. You can set up the actual location, and what's cool is that Facebook even keeps it up to date, so you can see that it's going to be rainy and showery and a little cold tonight. And then there's all the ticket information. Now, what you're seeing here is the Eventbrite integration. So that allows people to buy tickets directly from Facebook and not even leave the platform, which is super cool. It definitely reduces that friction towards people making a buying decision here. And you can see that if you set the tickets to end on a certain date, that also shows you that information as well. So it's kind of built-in urgency leading up towards the event. And then you keep scrolling down, you have the about and the discussion tab. So as I mentioned earlier, you have the event wall basically, and that's the discussion. You've got your posting options here, and it's basically like any other normal post that you can make. So you can add photos, videos, you can go live, you can do all sorts of fun stuff. There's information about the people that have responded, and you can check them out. You can message the people however you want to do it. There's a bunch of options to invite people and share this out. And then, of course, you have the event details itself. And this basically is, these are screenshots from the desktop version, and the mobile version is basically the exact same thing. So to actually set up your Facebook event, first thing that you want to do is actually develop your offer. I mean, it may seem obvious, but you got to figure it out. You know, what's the location? What are the date and the times? What's your agenda? Who are you going to have speaking? So forth and so on. And then you need to set up your ticket or RSVP endpoint. So if you're using something like Eventbrite, build the thing in Eventbrite. If you're doing some kind of a free event, build a landing page so that people can RSVP and say, yes, I officially want to go ahead and show up. And then once you've done that, you're actually going to create the Facebook event itself. So this is where you're going to do your cover photo. You're going to give it a name. You're going to set the location and make sure that you use a proper location that shows up on maps. And then that's going to give you the most metadata for that. The event details. And in the event details, it's very similar to a post where you can actually tag other pages as well. So if you've got a list of 10 speakers that are talking, you want to tag every single one of their public speaking page, their public figure pages. And then this way it allows people to do their own research and their own looking into what's actually going to be going on here. So that's really important. So in addition to and you may or may not want to make them a host. That's totally up to you, but at the very least, you absolutely want to make sure that you're tagging the other pages. You, of course, tell Facebook the event date and the time, and all of these things help with the discoverability of it, because there's a lot of ways that Facebook just lets people know, hey, there's events going on, and if people are searching for it, you really want to leverage all of these pieces. You would add your co-hosts here. You can actually add a schedule and keywords as well. So if you're doing some type of a like networking event, you can say it's networking keyword, or if you have the actual list of speakers and you know when everybody's going up, you can actually put that schedule in there and again give more people information to really learn what the event's going to be about. And then you put in your ticket or your RSVP link. This is also would be where you connect to Eventbrite. And it's a very simple process. It walks you through the whole thing. Facebook's really good about that. And then you can also set the posting permissions too. So the discussion wall, you can make it so only hosts can post, or you can make it so anybody can post. And then there's also options to make posts moderated. So that way somebody can make a post and then an admin has to approve whether it gets displayed publicly or not. And then you invite people. It's a really easy low-hanging fruit that a lot of people forget. Set up your event, and then you can invite people. You can invite them in mass. You can cherry pick and do whoever you want. If you are using the lists feature where you're making different lists of your friends, you can look at a certain list, or you can say show people in this certain group. So this is a real easy way to get people to build that social proof, to start building the numbers of who's going and interested in those kinds of things. And because it's an in-person event, make sure you're only inviting people that actually have a chance of showing up. So if you're doing an event in Chandler, you probably don't want to invite your friends in New York, unless of course it's maybe a bigger event or a conference, and then yeah, you may want to do that. And then once you have your event set up, then you're going to want to promote it using the next 3 strategies that I'm going to go ahead and teach you. And Matt, feel free to break in at any point in time if there's a particularly relevant question or something that maybe is unclear on one of these. And obviously there's plenty of time for questions at the end. I'll hang out until everything's answered.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna throw one in here right now, just for fun, and it's really not relevant. But Neil asked if you're gonna be doing a revised Keap cookbook.
Oh man, I would love to do a revised Keap cookbook. I think that's a good idea. And
with all your free time.
All of the free time, all of it. Well, that's actually one of the cool things when you're doing events like this using these strategies I'm about to teach you, that it is going to actually save you time, to where the event is just kind of running in the background, and then you're doing whatever else you need to do to hype it up and get people there and the stuff you normally do. So a lot of this stuff, especially actually 2, 3, and 4, pretty much allows you to promote it on autopilot. And I know how much we love automation here with this group. So let's go ahead and hop right into the next one. So the second strategy is that you want to be counting down to the event with page posts. So as the event approaches, you want to say, hey, it's coming, and then it's in a week, and so forth and so on here. So this is really, it's a series of posts that you're going to be making pushing the event. So almost like you would have an email series, you can make a series of page posts. And every time you're doing this, you want to make sure that you're using different angles and different visuals each time. You don't want to have it the exact same. Now, if you're introducing the speakers and stuff like that, maybe it's the same kind of structure, but obviously it's going to be a different picture of the speaker. They're talking about different topics, I would assume. And what's cool is this is leveraging your existing built-in page audience, as well as helping you get more awareness from people that aren't necessarily your audience as well. So this is a traditional post timing that we use. As soon as the event is live, you want to make sure that you're posting about it on your page. Hey, the event's live, go RSVP here. And then 30 days out at 5 p.m. And there's a reason we use this timing, and I'll explain it as once we have all of them here. So 30 days out at 5, and then a week out at noon, 2 days before at 10 a.m., and then the day of at 5 a.m. And so the reason that we choose to use this timing is because we're running events all the time. And so we want the very first post of the day to always be the next most upcoming event. And so if we're posting at 5 a.m., hey, this event is today, then later at noon, hey, this is what next week's event is. Now, we do a lot of events here. In the case of partners, it's probably just one big event at a time. So you can adjust the timing and add more posts and things like that. But this is traditionally what we do. Another thing that you can leverage is if you're doing early bird pricing or things like that. So you can make a post maybe a week before the early bird pricing ends. Hey, early bird pricing is up. And then the day of or the day before, hey, you've only got one more day to get your early bird pricing. And then after that's passed and they're paying full price, hey, time to get your tickets, so forth and so on. So this is, if anything, use this as a guide, but you know your business and your audience better than I do. So just like you're designing an email series or something like that, intentionally design your posts and your timings here. The other thing that is a huge time saver, I was talking about timing earlier, is you can actually schedule page posts ahead of time. And so we actually post everything all in a batch, and this is going to save you a bunch of time. And so that way, when you're doing all the other stuff that comes with running an event, you don't have to remember, oh, did I post about this today? It's just going. And you know that it is because you've scheduled these things out ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and teach you how to schedule posts. If you didn't know you could do this, it's pretty cool. The first thing that you want to do is, in a separate document, we use Google Docs, plan out your posts and make sure that you are indicating when the posting time is going to be, what the text is, what the visuals is going to be, and figure all this out ahead of time. So that way, it's very easy for you to go into the tool and do these next steps where you just kind of bust through posting them out. So Facebook has released Creator Studio. If you've never played with that before, it's a really powerful tool, and it's available to everybody. Just go to business.facebook.com/Creator Studio, and this is basically their answer to YouTube's Creator Studio. And so if you've ever played with that, it's a very similar tool. You'll definitely like it. So you go to the Creator Studio, and there's the post something option, and then you put in whatever you've written before, whatever you've planned out, and then the scheduling is hiding in the little arrows next to the publish button. So to the right of the publish, there's the blue arrow. You can hit schedule, and then you can say, here's when I want this to post. Now, the other thing that's really cool that I don't see a lot of people leveraging is the expiring of a post. And the reason you would want to expire posts is because you know that you are making a series of posts. And so by setting a post to expire in the news feed, that means that at any given point in time, only one post is going to show up in somebody's feed. And when you're doing a series of posts, that actually allows you to weave a story between them. And so when you make your post, it's 30 days out, and then you set that to expire when your 7-day post goes out. And then when your 7-day post goes out, you set that to expire when the 2 days before, and so on. And so, for example, you can see here on the day of post, we do it at 5 a.m. And the reason we do that is because this is before most people wake up. And so that way, when they wake up, bam, there's fresh content and it's relevant to today. And then we usually stop it at 9 o'clock, because if somebody sees it, in our case, if somebody sees it at 9 and they want to go to the show, they still have an option to drive down to the club and still actually catch the headlining act. And this really the main benefit here is that at any given point in time, there's only one post showing up in the news feed. Now, that doesn't mean that it gets deleted. It's still there on your page. If people go to your page and look through your post timeline, it'll still show up. But this is just controlling the news feed distribution. So that is how you schedule posts ahead of time and save yourself a bunch of time. So as an example, so here's the post that we did a week out. And this is actually using the social inquiry angle, which is a really nefarious angle, nefarious in a good way, that my partner Brina discovered, which is basically, could this X be the perfect Y for one of your friends? And it's a great question because it uses presupposition, meaning that in order to answer this question, you have to first consider it for yourself. And so it kind of slides under people's radar, and we'll usually get a lot of people tagging their friends and things like that. And so then here's the 2 days before, so you can see we're using a different angle, we're using a different image, and then this is what went out tonight, to this morning, today, whatever. And usually we do a video on the day of, and we try and find a music video or a live clip or something like that. So if you're doing this for functional events, if you have speaker reels or something like that, you can go ahead and post these speaking reel videos leading up to it. And again, you're using different angles. You can tag them in the post just like you normally do. And this is how you can use countdowns in your posting, and this will save you a whole bunch of time when you schedule them ahead of time. So just to check in, right now we've made our Facebook event and we've scheduled posts to our page promoting it. Pretty cool, right? So another thing that's very special about Facebook events is that the third strategy is to stimulate hype with event discussion posts. And these can also be scheduled as well. So on the event wall itself, this is where you can make a series of posts specifically around the event and encouraging conversation. And just like with your page posts, you want to make sure that there's different angles and visuals each time for the event discussion posts. And this also leverages the event responder audience. So whenever anybody says that they're interested or they're going to be notified each time something is made. Now, one thing to be aware of, and a common pitfall, is you don't want it to be the exact same content as your page posts. Remember, this is the discussion in the event specifically itself, so you can be more specific with it. You can say, you know, what speaker are you most excited to see, or here's a really cool article that this person wrote, or whatever the case is, which wouldn't really necessarily be super relevant on your page, but it's definitely super relevant in the event discussion. And something that a lot of people don't know is that when you post in the event, it hits what I call the hidden news feed, aka your notifications feed. There's a lot of noise in your news feed, but usually people pay a lot of attention to their notifications. And so when you make a post and somebody's responded to the event, either is interested or going, it's going to ping them in their notifications and pull them back into the conversation, which is a really, really cool feature that, again, a lot of people don't really know. They don't understand that this is really kind of the key benefit of making posts into the event discussion, is that you're hitting those newsfeed notifications and you're staying top of mind. So I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly how to schedule your event discussion posts. So just like you do with your page posts, you want to make sure that you're planning them out in a separate document. So what are you going to say? What's the timing? All that kind of jazz. And then posting time, text, visual, normal stuff. And then you go to the event listing itself, and you can add your post text, your visuals, feelings, things like that. And then next to the post, you can hit the little arrow, and it's a very similar function here where you schedule the post and you say, hey, this is when I want this to post on the event wall. This is only available if you're a host. So if you want people to be able to schedule event posts, they do need to be a host. So just FYI, that's kind of a little good to know. It's your event. You are going to be the host of it itself. And this is how you can get conversations going. But I wanted to take a look at a more involved example here and really demonstrate the time savings of this and the benefit of really leveraging the event walls here. So I'm going to take you through a brief case study for the Dead of Winterfest 2020. This is my charity's annual heavy metal tour that we use to generate music equipment donations and repairs around the state of Arizona. So for this past year, we did 5 shows in 4 different markets. So there was 4 separate events that our page created. We had one in Tucson on the 24th, one in Kingman the 25th, Flagstaff the 26th, and then that next weekend we did a 2-day festival at Club Red in Phoenix. And so there was 7 to 8 acts each on the weekend tour, and then the Phoenix show had nearly 30 acts. And so it would be unreasonable for me to have to remember every day, oh, I got to go into the event and post on this wall. Because again, there's just so many things to do for an event beyond just being on social, right? So what I did is I created 4 separate documents of event discussion posts that were counting down for each of the event dates. And what this did is it hyped up because, at least for the shows, there was 7 to 8 posts, 1 for each act. And so that means that the week of, we were hyping it up automatically at 5 a.m. every morning. So anybody that was in those markets that was interested in the show, every morning they were getting, in this case, I only used videos. So either a live clip or a music video of what the particular band was and tagging them. And again, I know this is an entertainment-based in-person event. This strategy also works just as well for a functional event as well. So don't pretend that this isn't relevant to you. It absolutely is. So like I said, I tagged the artist and I posted an already published video. And what I mean by already published is it was on Facebook somewhere. So you just post the link to the video, which means that it's going to actually play the video in the feed. Something that you don't want to do is link to like a YouTube video or Vimeo or something like that. Facebook has no interest in taking people off their platform. And so that's why you want to use videos that are natively already on Facebook, because then it's going to autoplay and people can watch it. And again, there's reduced friction to actually consuming the piece of video content. And this drove engagement daily. And what this allowed us to do is to just focus on responding and reacting and commenting with the community, as opposed to having to remember, oh man, I got to post this thing. And so here's the results of this case study. As far as the time investments here, and this is where it gets really exciting. It took about 30 minutes for each of the 3 tour shows to write and schedule the posts. So about 90 minutes between all 3 of those events. And then for the Phoenix one, it took about 2 hours because there's a bunch of acts, but still to write and schedule it. So in less than 4 hours, all 4 of these events had event discussions posted, and they were keeping the conversation alive and keeping everybody top of mind. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're using the event discussion and scheduling things ahead of time to save yourself those onesies and twosies. Because yeah, I can spend a minute every day making those posts, but there's switching costs with that. And then there's, oh, I got to remember to do that. And especially for an in-person event, the clock is ticking no matter what you do. So by scheduling it, it guarantees that you're going to be promoting the event when you need to be promoting it. And again, we did it at 5 a.m. so that way when people woke up, hopped on the Facebook, there was new content for them to engage with and start paying attention to. So at this point, checking in, we've made our event, we've scheduled posts to our page promoting it, and we've also scheduled event discussion posts. So at this point, I guess we might as well spend some money. Everything that we've done up to this point is free. The only investment is your time. It doesn't cost you anything to make an event, doesn't cost you anything to schedule posts, doesn't cost you anything to schedule in the event discussion. So now we're going to amplify what we've been doing with advertising. And that's where strategy 4 comes in. And this is where you're going to want to run an event ads funnel. So it's an actual funnel like we're used to. There's different layers to it. So the standard funnel has at least 3 waves. So the first wave of ads, or the first campaign, you're just trying to get people to respond to the event as either interested or going. Once they've done that, the second wave is you take the people that have responded to the event and you drive them to the ticket link. And then at the bottom of the funnel, which is wave 3 or more, depending on how much access you have to the ticket link on the site, this is where you do your conversion-based remarketing. So technically, wave 2 is remarketing. You are remarketing to your event responders. But for wave 3 and beyond, you want to actually say, yes, optimize this for conversions, or if you actually have control over the whole funnel, optimize this for landing page views, and then optimize it for add to cart, and so forth and so on. So we're going to do a deep dive into each one of these right now to kind of give you some more context into what's contained in each one of those. So as a quick primer, it actually doesn't matter what platform you're using, where you're advertising. Any ad campaign is going to have 3 distinct parts to it. You have your objective, which is why are you doing it in the first place? What are you trying to get out of people? The audience, and the creative. And so if it helps, think oak. That's your objective, audience, and your creative. So for wave 1, we're getting event responders. The objective on the Facebook ad campaign is event responses. That is an actual objective that you can run campaigns for the specific purpose of getting people to respond to your event. Now, as far as your audiences, this is very top of the funnel. So you want to use a very healthy mix of everything that's available to you. So you want to use your owned audiences, meaning this is your email list, your phone list, this is your website traffic. These are the things that you own. Then you also want to use your platform audiences. These are the things that come in the system based on what it is. So for example, on Facebook, you can target your page likers, you can target your video viewers, you can target your page engagers, you can target people that have messaged your page. There's a whole bunch of platform audiences that you can use. Then you want to make sure that you're also using your related audiences. And so on Facebook, these would be your lookalike audiences. This would also be your direct competitors as well. So if you were doing a marketing kind of event, you could absolutely target people that like digital marketers specifically, because they would be a competitor to that. And then you also want to use a mix of your data-driven audiences too. So this is where you just do raw cuts into the data that the platform gives you. So this is where you do your interest targeting, and I would always recommend doing at least 2 slices into the data when you're doing interest targeting. So don't just target people who are interested in marketing. They're interested in marketing and they're a small business owner, which is a behavior, or they like Seth Godin and they like conferences. So don't just do one type of interest. You always want to do some kind of an overlap to really dial in who you're actually trying to target. One thing that's really important, because this is an entire funnel, is you want to remember to exclude your event responders as well as your ticket purchasers. If they bought a ticket, they don't need to see these ads. If they've responded to the event, they don't need to see these ads, because that's where the next wave comes in. So this prevents overlap, and you're not going to be bidding against yourself and driving your own costs up. So exclusions are really important here to make sure that people are getting the right message at the right time. And then for your creative, you also want to be testing a very wide mix of either static images and or videos, and then a bunch of the top of funnel ad angles. So I talked about the social inquiry angle earlier, which is, could this X be the perfect Y for one of your friends? This is where you use like benefit angles. You can use the shout angle. There's all sorts of different ad angles that you can use, but you got to remember that this is really top of funnel, so they want to be top of funnel angles that are going to work, which you can see as we go further down the funnel. There's other kinds of angles that are more appropriate. So creative, testing stuff out. I love using Google image search with the reuse and modification filter, because I'm not necessarily a graphics guy, and you want to find scroll stopping images, images that are, well, they have high frequency components, but that doesn't make sense to anybody listening to here. Basically, there's a lot of variety in those images. And so if you've never done this, when you go search for something in Google Images, you would select tools, and then you can select under the usage rights labeled for reuse with modification. And now you are completely free to use these without worrying about getting like a cease and desist or get sued or anything like that, because the usage is allowed for that. And what I like to do is actually type in the word that you're going for. So if you are using an ad angle that talks about urgency, type in the word urgency, see what images show up. You'll usually find things like, usually to do with time, so clocks or hourglasses or those kinds of things. And remember, you want it to be a scroll stopping kind of thing. People are going to be scrolling through their feed. You want this image to grab them, and then they would go ahead and read. So it's almost the image or the video is like the visual headline, because the whole point of the headline in copywriting is to get people to read the next sentence. And the whole point of the second sentence is to get them to read the third, and so on. So your visual headline is the image or video that you're going to use. So you want to make sure that this is going to cut through the noise and get your target audience's attention. So that's a little pro tip when it comes to finding image creatives. So looking at wave 2, this is where we are driving event responders to the ticket link here. So in this case, do you remember OAC? The objective is traffic, ideally traffic optimized for landing page views. And this is different than traffic optimized for clicks, because just because somebody clicks on the ad, that doesn't mean that they're going to stick around and wait for the page to load. And then you've just paid for basically a useless click. Now, if you don't have access into, if you don't control the ticket site, you may not be able to get your Facebook pixel on there, so that way this works. So in that case, the best you can do is optimize it for clicks. But I believe with most of the partners on here, they are going to control the website that the people are buying a ticket from. So you definitely want to make sure you're optimizing it for landing page views, because now we're trying to get everybody that's responded to the event, now that they're warm, we're getting them off of the Facebook platform and onto your site. So that's why we use the traffic objective in this case. Now, as far as the audience here, the only people you want to target are the event responders. And I'm going to show you how to do this in, I think, the next slide here. And you also want to make sure that you are excluding the ticket purchasers, because if they've responded to the event and they also bought a ticket, well, they don't need to see these ads. So remember to use your exclusions to make sure people are seeing the right ads at the right point in your funnel. And then for your creative, you still want to do testing, a wide mix of images, videos, and then this is where your middle of funnel angles come into play. So I like using the commit and the consistency angle. This is coming from the Cialdini influence principle. And so it'll be something like, hey, you saw the event, you RSVP'd, now it's time to get your ticket. So just keeping them consistent with that. Or this is where you might want to use a logic angle or an urgency angle. Hey, time's running out to get your ticket. Don't be left out. Limited seats, that kind of stuff. So if you don't know how to make an event responder audience, I'm going to teach that to you right now. So on the back end of Facebook, you would go to your audiences section. You go to create an audience and go to do a custom audience. And you're going to use the events source right here. And this is now going to allow you to choose which events you want people, or rather, yeah, what events you're making an audience for. So I usually just do people who responded as going to or interested, but you can see there's actually a bunch of options regarding event stuff. So I would actually recommend going in here and just highlighting, hovering over each of those information boxes and learning what each of these are, because you can actually make a more robust funnel than this. You can have people that have visited the event page, but they did not respond as going or interested, and then you can run a different layer of event response ads to them. People that have engaged with the tickets, meaning that they actually clicked on the ticket link, and then maybe you exclude the people that purchase. But you choose the people who responded as going to or interested, and then you would choose the specific event that you're remarketing for. So you can see here, I mean, here's the list of all the dead of winter ones from this past year. So if I wanted to make a audience of all of those, I would select it, and then you just give it a name and then create your audience. Again, when you're doing the event funnel, you just want the one event that people are responding to that you want to drive them to go to the ticket link. And that's how you make custom audiences for the event responder, which is actually pretty easy when you think about it, because Facebook's doing all the hard work for you. You're just saying, hey, give me an audience of people that responded to this event. Done. And then they do all the magic on the back end. So now this is where we get to the bottom of the funnel, which is waves either 3 and beyond, because depending on how much control you have over the site, this is where you get to your conversion-based remarketing. So in your objective, ideally, you're going to be doing conversions optimized for purchases. However, if you control the site, you can do a complete full remarketing stack. And actually, I spoke about this on a Business Booster a couple years ago, Matt. That was pretty cool, where it talks about taking people from your run these ads to people who saw the site, but they did not add to cart. And then run these ads to people who added to cart, but they didn't initiate checkout. And then run these ads to people who initiated checkout, but they didn't purchase. And you're just kind of inching them further down the stack here. You're not just doing one layer of remarketing here. And again, if you don't have control over the site, you may not actually, the ticket or the RSVP site, you may not be able to do this. If you are doing a free event and people are RSVPing, then of course you would do conversions optimized for a lead. So making sure that they actually hit that thank you page, and you're firing the lead event back to the Facebook engine. In this case, the audience is going to be for people that actually visited the ticket link or the site visitors. And of course, we're excluding the purchasers because they've already bought, they don't need to see it. Or, and again, in the case of an RSVP, exclude the actual people that became a lead. And then for your creative, again, you always want to be testing in every one of these layers. So different images, different videos. And then this is where you're getting to the bottom of the funnel, ad angles here. And so this is, I really like the upscale quiet one. It pokes at the ego. It's basically something like, you know, we don't blame you for not getting a ticket to this event. It's only for serious business owners anyway. And you know, that's kind of how that angle works. And this is where you can start using the exclusivity angle. Again, you can use the urgency again. So depending on what wave of traffic they're in, you definitely want to make sure that the ad angles match what you're trying to communicate here. And that's it. So these are the 4 strategies that you can use to master event promotion on Facebook. Make sure you're setting up an event listing, count down to the event with page posts, put your event discussion posts on there, and then amplify all of that with an event ads funnel. And that should ensure that you're, at least on Facebook, you're doing the most that you can. And there's not really much else you can do. One thing I didn't talk about is you can share your event into different groups and things like that. That would definitely be more of a manual process, but you totally can. And that's basically it. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, we do have something called the Social Post Triple Play, which is a free video guide. It teaches you how to schedule posts, set them to expire, and also target your news feed. And it's a video guide, so it actually walks you through that. So if these static images didn't do for you, just go to our website, bpro.events, and tell us if you do functional or entertainment-based events, and then you can go ahead and get the guide. So let's go ahead and take some questions. I've been seeing a lot of things coming in, and Matt, I would be the moderator. Let us know what people want to know.
Cool. Yeah, mostly just people just singing your praises. But there is a question here. Oh, stop. Neil asked, what sort of number of people, what kind of numbers are you targeting for your remarketing? Is there a minimum number that Facebook needs to action this, the remarketing?
That's a great question. So obviously, the deeper you go down the funnel, the smaller the audiences are going to be. I don't believe there's a particular number that you need. You just got to create the audience, and then however many people are in that audience, that's what it's going to go for. So really, this is almost more of a question about the budgeting here. So I'm like working with an event right now. They have $500 to spend to promote the whole thing. We're spending $350 at the top of the funnel just to get the event responses. So we're putting most of our budget there to get people into that event responder group. And then wave 2, we're spending $150 to get them to go to the Eventbrite, and then $50 at the very bottom to get them to actually pull the trigger and purchase a ticket. So the more people you have responding to the event, the more opportunities your remarketing has.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I think you may have touched on this a bit, but Kathy asked, what about targeting people who have responded or attended relevant events previously?
Yeah, that's absolutely something you can do at the top of the funnel. So hey, if you like this event, if they responded as going to this event, absolutely target them for this new event. So as I showed in the example earlier, I made that audience of people that responded to Eddie and the Dead of Winter Fest for 2020. You better believe that they're going to be seeing ads for the 2021 festivals. So yes, if you do a lot of events. Now, one thing to be aware of is that the limit is 365 days. So if they responded to an event that's more than a year out, they won't be in that audience. You can still select that event, but they're not going to be in that audience. It expires at 365 days.
And those events that you would identify as part of your criteria for targeting, those don't need to be your events, or how does that work?
So I believe that you need to be the host of the event in order to be able to select that. So if you know that this is part of your strategy and that's what you want to do, make sure that you're getting added as a host. And a very easy way to sell that is to say, well, I want to be able to make event discussions and I want to be able to schedule them ahead of time. So I have to be a host in order to do that.
It'd be great if you could target people who respond to events from your competitors,
Mm-hmm.
or even partners, of course, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is man. I understand why they wouldn't have that though. I can get pretty
that would get super
crazy.
hairy. Yeah, that get wild. But they are testing the right-hand page ads. So on desktop, you know how there's the right-hand column. They're now starting to test that on pages that actually have big audiences. So right now, one of the guys I'm working with, he's a big Hollywood actor in the soap opera field, and he's got over 100,000 people on his page. And so Facebook reached out to him recently and was like, hey, do you want to test right-hand side ads on your page? So when people are looking at his page on desktop, they're actually going to start being able to run ads on that. So you could start doing competitor ads in that way. So for example, if Digital Marketer signs up for this program and they allow people to run ads, you could find a way to target and run ads on that page. So that's coming down the pipe though. That's something that's brand new, that's being tested. And if you're the page owner, Facebook is paying you anywhere from $150 to $300 per ad that you let run on their, that you let run on your page. So that's also another benefit of growing your audience too, is you can actually become an ad placement and now start monetizing your page. And
wow.
yeah, and again, that's a beta feature that they're testing out. And so that opportunity came in literally on Monday. And so we're going to be having a call with Facebook to figure out how all that works. So I can't speak too much to it now, other than we're going to be able to have placements on pages very soon.
That's wonderful. And I mean, you think about the possibilities with partnerships, right? You know, and when we're talking about events and we're talking about, you know, teaching and you know, sharing content, a lot of times it's not just one person, right? Or it's not just one, you know, company or entity. There's a partnership there, at least, you know, at least a couple. And you know, if you can cross promote in that way, you know, on each other's pages, I mean, that's one way, obviously, you know, as a page owner yourself, being able to leverage, you know, revenue from ads is a whole other ball game. But as far as promoting events, and you know, if you're working with somebody else, man, that could be exciting, depending on just how you know, in the weeds it can get. But this is awesome, man. I mean, you know, these are the fundamentals, you guys, really, for, you know, if you're running events, and I'm taking notes here too, because obviously I'm doing events. You're in one right now. You know, so I want to make sure that we're maximizing what we're doing here too. You guys, and if you don't know, I probably should have said this up front. I think everybody here knows you. But for those watching the recording, if you don't know Paul, he man, I'm gonna see if I can remember your moniker, the campaign
scientist.
builder, mad scientist.
Yes.
Man, I mean, you know, he's worked with some of the top brands around the world, not just in building campaigns and automation and helping them to, you know, strategize in their business, but also in things like this, you know, their Facebook ads, also, you know, Google ads, and man, the knowledge that Paul has is just mind blowing.
Thank you.
It really is. So yeah, you know, I want to encourage all you guys to connect with Paul and chat with him. And if you've got questions or ideas, or if you've got a project, or you know, anything coming up where you're going to be involving Facebook, you absolutely need to talk to Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to consult and give advice and those kinds of things. And Cami asked a wonderful question. She's like, "Can I get a copy of the slides?" And so I just put the link to that in the chat. And Matt, feel free to, you know, on the replay page or whatever, just link to that. It's a view only kind of thing. Yeah,
perfect.
This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody that's been hanging out. Appreciate all the feedback. This
is great stuff. Great stuff. And we just yesterday, I think, confirmed you're going to be joining us in November at PartnerCon to speak as well. Yeah, buddy. Sweet. Yeah, and so we've just started lining up speakers for PartnerCon, and man, you know, Paul's a gangster for sure, but he's among a really solid group of other partners and experts, and you know, people from the Keap team here. So you know, if we're talking about connecting with Paul and other experts, man, PartnerCon's a place to do it.
Absolutely. And if you want to connect with me beforehand, my public figure page is facebook.com/underthehair, or I'm also all over LinkedIn too. Just search for me and connect. And I love answering questions. So let me know. And good luck with all of your event stuff. And remember, LinkedIn now has events. So actually, you're seeing my screen. Let me show you that, because it's a brand new feature. They just launched it like, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago. So when you go to your homepage up here at the top, on the bottom left, you now have events. And so you can add an event here. And here's an example of an event I'll be talking at later this year. So later this month. So you can see it's the same kind of thing. There's a cover image, there's a profile pic, there's links to tickets. You can start a conversation. Really, the only thing that you can't do is you can't schedule posts into it, and you can't run ads for event responses, at least not yet. I went in and checked the LinkedIn platform. But you can share it, you can invite people. And what I'd recommend doing is you can do what this guy's doing, where when people respond as attending, he just sends them a LinkedIn message that says, "Hey, great, I see that you're looking to attend this summit. You know, here's the link to the tickets. Go ahead and get it now while it's an early bird special."
Beautiful, man. Yeah, LinkedIn is really stepping it up as far as, you know, a lot of these kinds of functions that businesses really need, beyond just the networking, which is traditionally, I think, a lot of people consider LinkedIn just networking. But man, it is extremely powerful and getting more powerful every day. This is another example of Paul Sokol's on top of things, man. It's good.
Staying relevant. So Neil actually has a great question. Says, can you invite lists on LinkedIn? That's a great question. So if you go to share this, I believe you can share it in a post. So you can go ahead and if you have your different lists on LinkedIn, you can make posts to that. And also you can post it in groups as well. Now, if you are LinkedIn heavy, one thing you can do that you cannot do on Facebook, at least not yet, you can actually run ads to people that are in certain groups. That's an actual targeting that you have. So if there's certain groups you're part of that have thousands of people in it, you can run ads just to people in those groups. And that's a great example of a platform audience where that's a built-in bell and whistle of LinkedIn that they are testing that with some Facebook advertisers, but it's not rolled out to everybody yet.
Wow, that's cool. That's exciting, man. Just more ways to connect with people, you guys. And this is what it's all about. Like you said in the beginning, it's to forge a genuine human interaction, a human connection, and that's what this comes down to. And there's some great tricks and things in here, but at the end of the day, it comes down to staying on top of how you're connecting with people and leveraging these tools. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. I hope you guys all take this and took good notes and are ready to go put something into action here today, because that's what it's all about, right? We can learn all we want, but until you take action, it's just information. So definitely dig in on this stuff, you guys. Love getting to hang out with you, as always.
It's always fun.
Paul, you're amazing, dude. Thank you so much for bringing this today, man. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks to everybody that was here hanging out with us and asking all these great questions. And if you have any more, reach out, let me know. Be more than happy to do my best to get you some good answers.
Perfect. Cool. Well, thanks again, Paul. And thank you everybody for joining us here this week on the Business Booster. I want to make sure you don't miss next week's Business Booster. We're going to have Tina Brinkley-Potts, legend from Client Attraction System. She's going to be talking to us about workshops and webinars, how to convert more attendees into clients. Tina is an expert at converting attendees into clients, as well evidenced by her sales numbers here at Keap. But if you want to be like Tina or just learn something amazing from her wealth of knowledge, be sure you join us next week on that. It's going to be awesome. And until then, my friends, hope you have a fabulous week, a beautiful weekend, and best wishes to you all. Thanks so much.